Vai.
Bom,
go ahead.
Então vamos fazer uma introduçãozinha em português aqui, né? O VCCReport tem o prazer de receber David Fitzgerald e, como eu já expliquei, a gente vai fazer essa entrevista e depois, né, a gente vai colocar legenda e tal. Eu peço um pouco de paciência para vocês, porque eu e o Luiz vamos fazer isso junto e a gente não tem a mínima ideia de como que a gente vai fazer isso, né? Então eu vou começar a entrevista com o Dave. Well, Dave, welcome to São Paulo, welcome to Brazil.
Thank you
It's
very
your
much.
second time here at Ibirapuera, isn't it?
Yes, I've had wonderful hosts. Everybody is fantastic and friendly down here. Thomas Case Jr. has loaned me one of their airplanes to fly. And I've enjoyed test flying your airplane and other airplanes here because we all want to train and practice and get better.
Yeah, thank you for flying my ship. You know, the feedback you gave me is very, very good. But you know, the first thing I would like to ask you is, in 2013, you didn't enter the team trials.
Right.
Because you wanted to help with the organization, I think. I don't really remember. But the point is that last year you won the net.
Yes.
So are you giving the guys a break with the team trials?
A little bit. It was the World Championships last year were in Poland. So I chose not to go to Poland in another contest in Europe. A lot of the European contests are similar. The same people are there. The same judges are there. So I decided to take a break, yes. I'm hoping that the U.S. team trials to decide who goes to the World Championships are going to be in October. It's one contest, so the top 3 finishers get to be on the U.S. team. So they're going to be in Australia in Perth for 2016, so I'm going to try for the World Championships again next year.
Okay, very good.
And we had some new people on the U.S. team. Howard Rush was his first time for aerobatics. He's been to the World Championships for combat, for F2D. And then we had Orestes Hernandez also. He's been on the team before. And another new flyer, Kenny Stevens. And unfortunately, he had a problem. He crashed his airplane when he was there.
Yeah, I read about it.
Yeah. So there'll be, it's always a very tough competition for the U.S. team because it's just the one contest. I understand Thomas told me here in Brazil you have a point system.
Yes.
So you have to attend so many contests for points to be able to make the Brazilian team.
Yes. Okay. How would you compare our system to the system you do there?
I think for you it's a good system here in Brazil because the flying tends to be very localized to just specific areas. But in the United States, the flying and the people are spread out over such a large area. Using a point system would be difficult for people that are in isolated regions, so they don't have contests to go to, so they wouldn't be able to do points. So it makes a little more sense for the U.S. to just have the one contest to decide the champions of that contest for the U.S. team. Because it's so spread out, I don't think a point system would work for us.
Okay. So, and how long have you been doing this? I mean, people in America, they know you very well, but people here, you know, like they know only your name. So how long have you been doing this?
I started doing model airplanes when I was 12 years old. So I started off with gliders and flying half-A size airplanes like a lot of kids do in the States. But my father had also flown control line and aerobatics. He also flew a little bit of combat. And growing up, he had airplanes hanging on the wall, and my brother and I were always asking, let's go fly your airplane, let's go fly your airplane. And finally one day he said yes. And that got us interested in building and flying airplanes. And from that day, it's something I've always wanted to do. And unfortunately, my father passed away a few years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It happens. It's life.
It's life.
Yeah.
But is there a connection, like model airplanes and being a professional pilot?
Yes, absolutely. From as early as I could remember, the reason we were asking to go fly models is both my brother and I were always interested in airplanes. And the model airplanes gave me the background and a lot of the knowledge to be good at flying full-size airplanes. I went in college to an aeronautical engineering school, so I have an aeronautical engineering degree, and it was fun because sometimes I was teaching the instructors because of the model airplane knowledge. We had a course in propellers and aerodynamics, and I started asking all these questions about aerodynamics, and the instructor goes, "What?" And it's like, yeah, it's this when you unload the propeller, it does this. He's, what are you talking about? He had no idea what we were talking about. So all of his knowledge was just in books and theory. So I had the practical knowledge from the model airplanes. It's like, well, you can do this with the pitch and the propeller, and this will happen. You're like, wow. So yes, the model airplanes enabled me to get my career flying full-scale airplanes. I learned general aviation. With other model airplane families, actually. We went together to buy a Piper Cherokee, and we had our own small flying club. I was the oldest kid in the group, so I got my flight instructor's license. And then we would go fly model airplanes in the morning, and then in the afternoons I would instruct the other kids flying in the Piper Cherokee. So we got all of our flying licenses that way, and went to college. And eventually I went in the U.S. Air Force, which gave me the flying time I needed to get the job for the airline.
What did you fly at the Air Force?
C-141s, transports. I was always had my eye on flying for the airlines, so the Air Force transports is very much like flying for the airlines. So we take cargo all over the world. Sometimes we take people, sometimes we take cargo. A lot of mail, a lot of cookies.
So you never went to Top Gun then? Huh?
No. The only fighter kind of airplane I flew was the trainers in the Air Force pilot training, T-37s and T-38s.
Okay, that's very, very interesting information. You know, I myself didn't know you had this military background and stuff. Oh, very cool, very cool.
So it was fun because you got to all different parts of the world. And I flew in Desert Storm. We flew a lot of cargo and supplies, but we also flew a lot of relief missions. If there was a hurricane or an earthquake someplace, a lot of times the only country that was capable of flying in food and water would be the U.S. Air Force, because we could fly anywhere in the world. So we take in relief supplies until the region could get itself back on its feet. So that was really part of the fun part, is helping people around the world.
Very cool, very cool. Now, you designed the Thunder Gazer just a little before you won the World Championship in 2008.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, I designed the airplane specifically to fly at Landres in France in 2008, because I knew it's very windy there. It has tall trees surrounding, very much like this, and a lot of turbulence. So the airplane had to be able to fly in turbulence and penetrate the wind. And that's exactly what it was designed for.
Okay, and could you give us a little bit more detail on the aerodynamics of the ship?
The wing basically is from Billy Werwich. It's his... Bob Hunt calls it the Geo-Bolt wing. So Billy first came up with this wing and the airfoil on his Geo airplane, and then used the same wing and airfoil on all of his P-47s. So hence the Geo-Bolt. And several people have used that basic airfoil now in different airplanes and different designs. The main reason I decided I liked it is watching Bill Werwich fly. When the wind blows, he gets better. So the airplane penetrates the wind and flies very well in turbulence, and that's something that I needed. So rather than reinventing a new wing, I asked Bill Werwich if I could use his wing in my airplane, and he was very gracious and said yes. So the wing is designed around Billy Werwich's airplane, and the fuselage looks a little bit like a Ted Fancher Trivial Pursuit. So that's the looks that I based the airplane off of. I wanted something a little bit smaller. It's only 630 square inches, because the smaller airplanes seem to fly better in the wind and the bad conditions. So I needed something small, and I needed a lot of power, so the PA-75. So small power, penetrate the wind. Ended up being a very good combination.
Okay, and the reason I asked you that is because, I mean, there is a rumor that when it's the world's, the corner has to be, let's say, more corner than when you fly in America, that in America the judges, they don't look for that hard corner. And you have been world champion, you are the current American champion. How can you do that?
It's interesting. I don't change how I fly when I go to the World Championships. The World Championship judges have changed a little bit how they judge, more towards the American style than they used to be. It used to be soft, large maneuvers, but the bottoms had to be perfect right off 5 feet. And I think over time, they're looking at more of the parameters in the pattern, which means size has to be 45 degrees. The maneuver shapes, not just having perfect bottoms, the loops have to be round. So the size and the shapes. And the corners, I think for me, I like a crisp corner, a nice start-stop corner, where you can enter and exit the maneuver cleanly. I don't think the judges really judge for that. It's more of the smooth appearance for the maneuver. And what's changed in the last several World Championships are the power packages for the airplanes, the PA-75. So the first time I used it was in Spain in 2006. So you have the power to fly cleaner maneuvers. And the same thing is happening with the electrics. The electrics have a tremendous amount of power so that you don't have to try and hit the corners so hard and yet keeping the maneuver smooth. So the overall presentation of being smooth with the modern power packages you can now do with a harder corner. So I think that's how the flying and the judging has evolved. The harder corners are enabled because of the modern technologies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. Now there is a curiosity, like in America, most of people build their ships, they finish the ships, there is like I feel like there is a culture of building and finishing, you know, the BOM rule, the 20 points, you know. And when you go to Europe, you see that most people fly, you know, the ready to fly models, Yatsenko and things like that. How do you compare this?
It's just different. In the U.S., we grew up with the builder of the model rule, so I like it because I think to be a more complete modeler, as you yourself discovered, you built your first competition airplane. There's not a lot of knowledge that goes into building the airplane that I think also translates to being a better pilot. Because you built the airplane, now you know what adjustments you have on the airplane to change the trim. And I think that makes you a better overall pilot. And you can travel the world and help other people like we're doing here to do trim adjustments to the overall goal is to make everybody better, and to have, the better you are, the more fun you have. So I like the fact that in the United States we have the builder of the model rule because I think it makes you a more complete modeler. Now, the problem with that is it takes, as you know, it takes time. It takes time and takes effort to build your own airplane. And with a lot of people today and their jobs and work and families, you just don't have that time. So with some people, a better solution is the ready-to-fly airplanes, the Yatsenkos, because they don't have the time. And in terms of the high-level competition, the Yatsenkos are very good, but I don't think you can quite make that transition to the championship level when you use the builder, the pre-bought, the ARF airplanes. It makes it more difficult, I think. It can be done, but it's more difficult. A good example of that would be Orestes Hernandez, where he flies the Yatsenko Shark. He has bought Sharks from
That was going to be my next question. You're right in my mind.
Because of the builder of the model rule, he has also bought kits from the Yatsenkos and built his own airplanes to be able to fly in the U.S. competition. And I think Orestes is a fantastic competitor and a great flyer, a good friend. And he's learned quite a bit through that process of building his own airplanes also. So there are pluses and minuses on both sides. I like the builder of the model rule because I like building airplanes. I would rather fly them, but I have particular ideas of what I want to do with an airplane, and I can't do that if I have an R4 ready to fly airplane. So for me, it's about more customization for the high-end competitive airplane.
Okay, wow. Yeah, we think the same on this matter. You know,
Okay.
I have exactly your opinion. But how does it feel to be here? You know, and because well, we have this facility here, Modelódromo Ibirapuera, and so this is 5 minutes from downtown.
Yes.
You know, and I know that in America or even in other places, people have to drive sometimes 30 miles, 40 miles,
Yeah.
maybe 60 miles to get to a field.
Yes.
So what is your opinion about our facility here? What do you see here?
Oh, it's a wonderful place. It's a great place for a weekend. When I was here last time, I think in 2009, we were able to come down here and fly in a contest that Benet put on. So the cases, again, were generous enough to loan myself, Howard Rush, and Wendy Urdnowski to borrow some airplanes and fly down here. And it was a wonderful contest. We had a barbecue over at your barbecue pit and food. And it's a great place to gather. And it's not just for the airplanes, because I see people with dogs out here. And are the train tracks still inside the building? Are the trains still in there?
Yes.
It's a wonderful facility for people to get together. And
Because you know, we have the water reservoir over there for the RC boats.
Yeah.
There is the plastic model club upstairs. You know, so this is like a modeling facility. It's not like a control line facility.
Yeah, and unfortunately in the U.S., we don't have the public support to be able to build facilities like this, to modeling centers specifically, because a lot of the effort goes into supporting the kids in sports. So a local city might be happy to build a soccer stadium, but to put in a control line flying circle, there's not enough people doing that. So they don't see that it's worth the money to invest in. So a lot of people are having problems finding places to fly airplanes for flying sites. And that's been one of the advantages about electrics, is a lot of schools and parks that have prohibited flying the internal combustion engines because of the noise, now you can go back and fly in the parks because the electrics fly. So that's been helping increase the places that we can fly. But the only place that we have that's anywhere close to something like this would be the AMA National Facility in Muncie.